The text message came through at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Unknown number. It said, "Hey, this is Jessica Morgan from Franklin High. I'm on the reunion committee. We need someone to help with setup on Saturday. You were always good at that kind of thing." I stared at my phone for a solid minute. I was sitting in my corner office on the 14th floor of the Meridian Portland, going through Q3 revenue reports. The city lights stretched out below me like a carpet of diamonds. My assistant had left hours ago. The building was quiet, except for the hum of the HVAC system, and the occasional ding of the elevator down the hall. Jessica Morgan. I hadn't heard that name in 20 years. Hadn't wanted to. I pulled up her Facebook profile. Same blonde hair, same sharp cheekbones, same smile that looked friendly in photos but I remembered as cruel. She was selling real estate now. Keller Williams. Her cover photo showed her in front of a modest tutor in the Selwood neighborhood with a sold sign. Her bio said Top Producer 2023. I made $847,000 last month, just from the hotels. That doesn't count the consulting fees or the speaking engagements or the stock portfolio my financial advisor manages. I typed back, "Sorry, I'll be busy." Then I deleted it. Typed, "I don't think we've met." Deleted that too. Finally I wrote, "I'll be there," and hit send. Because here's the thing about being invisible in high school. You see everything. You remember everything. And when you finally have power, you get to decide what to do with those memories. Saturday morning I woke up at 5:30 a.m. like always. Went for a run along the waterfront. 4 miles. Came back, showered, made myself a double espresso with the La Marzocco machine I had installed in my penthouse kitchen. It cost $8,000. I use it every single day. I picked out my outfit carefully. Not too fancy. I didn't want to show up looking like I was trying. Dark jeans, a cashmere sweater from Nordstrom, simple jewelry. But the jeans were Citizens of Humanity at $248, and the sweater was Vince at $395. My watch was a Cartier tank that I bought myself when I sold my second hotel. My shoes were Gucci loafers. Comfortable, expensive, understated. I looked like money, old money, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. The reunion was being held at the Meridian Portland. My hotel. The committee didn't know that when they booked it 6 months ago. They just knew it was the nicest place downtown with reasonable event rates. My events manager Christina had given them the standard nonprofit discount. 20% off the ballroom, complimentary setup and breakdown, cash bar with no minimum. I owned the hotel. I owned the building. I owned the parking garage next door, and the restaurant on the ground floor, and the rooftop bar that every influencer in Portland wanted to post from. Nobody from Franklin High knew that. On Facebook I'm still listed as working in tech. Which is true. I just don't mention that I sold my SaaS company for $32 million 3 years ago, and rolled the profits into real estate. I got to the hotel at 9 a.m. The reunion didn't start until 7 p.m., but Jessica's text said they needed help with setup. I walked through the main entrance, nodded at the doorman, took the elevator up to the mezzanine level, where the grand ballroom was. Christina was there with 2 of her staff, setting up tables. She saw me and smiled. Christina's worked for me for 4 years. She knows I don't usually show up for events unless there's a problem. She said, "Morning, boss. Didn't expect to see you here." I said, "I went to Franklin High. This is my reunion." Her eyes went wide. She said, "Oh my God, I had no idea. Do you want me to upgrade anything? We can move them to the Cascade Room. Better views." I said, "No, this is perfect. Keep everything exactly as planned." The ballroom looked good. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. We'd set up 15 round tables with white linens and simple centerpieces. String lights along the perimeter. A DJ booth in the corner. A bar along the back wall. Jessica showed up 20 minutes later. She had 2 other women with her. Sarah Kim and Amanda Peters. I remembered them. They ran in the same circle. Cheerleaders. Student council. The girls who always sat in the front of the cafeteria. Jessica looked at me for a long moment. I could see her trying to place my face. Finally she said, "I'm sorry, have we met?" I said, "Franklin High, class of 2005. We had AP English together." She squinted. Then her face changed. Recognition, then something else. Surprise maybe, or confusion. She said, "Oh my God, Diane Chen, you look so different. I lost 90 pounds after high school. I got contact lenses." I learned how to do my makeup from YouTube tutorials and practice. I spent $15,000 on Invisalign. I bought clothes that actually fit. I hired a personal trainer and went to therapy and worked on myself until I became someone I didn't hate looking at. But Jessica didn't need to know any of that. I said, "Yeah, it's been a while. You needed help setting up." She handed me a box of name tags. She said, "Can you organize these alphabetically? And we need someone to set up the memory table. There's a bunch of photos in that bin over there." Sarah Kim was on her phone. Amanda was adjusting a centerpiece. Neither of them acknowledged me. I took the box, started sorting through the name tags. There were maybe 200 of them. Our graduating class was 340 kids, but not everyone RSVP'd. Jessica was talking to Christina now. She was saying something about upgrading the bar package. She wanted premium liquor. Top shelf. She was saying the committee would cover it. Christina glanced at me. I shook my head slightly. Christina's good at reading signals. Christina said, "I'm sorry. We can't change the bar package day of, but you're welcome to purchase premium drinks individually at the bar. We have an excellent selection." Jessica's smile tightened. She said, "That seems inflexible." Christina said, "It's hotel policy. I apologize for any inconvenience." I kept sorting name tags. I found mine. Diane Chen. I clipped it to my sweater. The morning passed slowly. Jessica kept giving instructions. "Move this table. Adjust those lights. The music is going to be too loud. Can we turn it down?" She had opinions about everything, and she delivered them like orders. Around noon, lunch arrived. Catering from the restaurant downstairs. Caesar salads and sandwiches. Turkey and Swiss. I'd approved the menu myself when Christina sent over the proposal. Jessica and her committee sat at one of the round tables. They didn't invite me to join them. That was fine. I went down to my office, ate at my desk, checked emails. My CFO had sent over the monthly revenue report. The Meridian Portland did $1.2 million in October. The Meridian Beaverton did $890,000. My 3 boutique properties combined did another $1.4 million. After expenses, payroll, maintenance, and debt service, I cleared about $400,000 personally, not counting dividends from my stock portfolio or consulting income. I thought about Jessica's real estate bio. Top producer. That probably meant she closed maybe $10 million in sales volume last year. At a 3% commission. That's $300,000. Before taxes, before splits with her broker, before expenses. I made that in 3 weeks. The afternoon dragged. More setup. More instructions from Jessica. She wanted the DJ to play specific songs. She had a slideshow that needed to be loaded. She wanted the bar to open at 6:30 instead of 7 o'clock. Around 4 p.m. I went home to change. I'd rented out my penthouse when I bought it 2 years ago for $2.8 million. 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, wraparound balcony. I decorated it myself. Restoration hardware, furniture, art from local galleries. A view that made visitors go silent. I changed into a dress. Roland Morate. Black. Structured. I bought it at Saks for $1,600. It fit like it was made for me. I put on different jewelry. Diamond studs. Delicate gold necklace. I redid my makeup. Added a bold red lip. I looked powerful. I looked expensive. I looked nothing like the girl Jessica Morgan remembered. I got back to the hotel at 6:45. The ballroom was filling up. People I hadn't seen in 20 years. Some of them looked exactly the same. Some looked completely different. I recognized faces, but couldn't match them to names. A few people recognized me, or thought they did. I got a lot of, "You look so familiar," and, "Remind me of your name again." I networked. I smiled. I made small talk. I asked about jobs and kids, and mortgages. I kept my own details vague. I work in hospitality. I live downtown. Yes, Portland's changed so much. Around 7:30, I was at the bar getting a glass of wine, when Jessica appeared next to me. She had a champagne flute in her hand. She looked flushed, happy, loud. She said, "This turned out amazing. We were so worried about the venue, but this place is perfect." I said, "It's a great hotel." She said, "Have you been here before?" I said, "Once or twice." She leaned in closer. She smelled like Chanel No. 5 and wine. She said, "Between you and me, I tried to get us a discount on the bar. The events manager was so rude about it. Like, it's our 20-year reunion. You'd think they could be flexible. I sipped my wine. It was a Willamette Valley Pinot Noir that I'd personally selected for the wine list. $14 a glass. We paid $6 wholesale. I said, hotel policies can be strict. She rolled her eyes. She said, whatever. My husband's covering my tab anyway. She wandered off. I watched her go back to her table. Table 6. Right by the windows. The best table in the room. I'd assigned the tables myself. I'd looked at the seating chart Christina prepared, and I'd made one small change. I put Jessica and her group at table 6. The table right next to the hallway, where I'd be walking past all night. Around 8:30, I was talking to Mike Rodriguez. He'd been in my calculus class. He was an accountant now. Married, 3 kids, living in Tigard. Nice guy. We were discussing tax law changes when I heard Jessica's voice rise above the music. She was snapping her fingers. Actual snapping, like she was calling a dog. She was looking at one of the catering staff, a young woman named Emily, who works part-time while she's getting her degree at Portland State. Emily was clearing glasses from an empty table. Jessica said, "Excuse me. Hello. Can you come here please?" Emily walked over. She looked nervous. Emily's 22. She's good at her job, but she's still learning how to deal with difficult guests. Jessica pointed at her table. She said, "Someone spilled champagne on this tablecloth and it's sticky. Can you change it or clean it or something?" Emily said, "I can get you some napkins and club soda." Jessica said, "I don't want napkins. I want you to fix it. This is ridiculous. We're paying for this event." Actually, the committee paid $800 for the room rental. Everything else was cash bar. But I didn't correct her. Emily looked around. She was clearly trying to figure out what to do. There was no way to change a tablecloth with people sitting at it. And a little spilled champagne wasn't an emergency. I started walking over. Then Jessica saw me. She said, "Oh perfect. Diane, you're good at this stuff. Can you help her clean this up?" I stopped about 3 feet from her table. Everyone at table 6 was watching. Sarah Kim, Amanda Peters, Jessica's husband, whose name I didn't catch. 2 other guys I vaguely recognized. I said, "Excuse me." Jessica gestured at the table. She said, "There's champagne all over this tablecloth. It's gross. Can you get someone to take care of it?" She thought I was staff. Or she thought I was still the same quiet girl who cleaned up after her in high school, who picked up her lunch tray because she said so, who stayed invisible while Jessica ruled the cafeteria like her own personal kingdom. I smiled. I said, "Absolutely. Let me take care of that for you." I turned around. I walked out of the ballroom. I took the service hallway to the elevator. Rode down to the lobby. The front desk was busy with check-ins. Saturday night. Weekend travelers. Couples and 4 anniversary dinners. Marcus was standing near the entrance. Marcus Whitmore, my head of security. Former Marine. 6'4", 240 pounds of muscle. He handles everything from drunk guests to actual threats. I pay him $78,000 a year, plus full benefits, matching 401k, and 4 weeks vacation. He's been with me for 3 years. I said, "Marcus, I need you to come upstairs with me. We have a guest who needs to be removed from the property." He didn't ask why. He just nodded and followed me. We took the elevator back up. I could feel my heart pounding. Not from fear, from something else. Anticipation maybe, or justice. The ballroom was loud now. The DJ was playing early 2000s hip-hop. Usher, I think. People were dancing. The bar was 3 deep with people ordering drinks. I walked straight to table 6. Marcus stood right behind me. He's trained to be visible, but not threatening, unless necessary. Right now he just looked official. Jessica was laughing at something Sarah said. Her champagne glass was empty. There was another full one in front of her. I stopped at her table. I said, "Jessica, I need you to settle your tab and leave the property." The conversation stopped. Jessica looked up at me. Her smile faded. She said, "What?" I said, "You need to leave. Now." She laughed. That same laugh. High-pitched, dismissive. She said, "Are you serious? What is this?" I said, "You've been rude to my staff. You charged unauthorized drinks to the event account, and you just tried to order me around like I work for you. So yes, I'm serious. You need to leave." Her face went red. She said, "Your staff? What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone. I opened my email. I pulled up the booking confirmation that Christina had sent to the reunion committee. I turned the screen toward Jessica. At the bottom of the email was a signature. Diane Chen, owner and CEO, Meridian Portland Hospitality Group. With my office phone number and my business email. I said, "This is my hotel. I own it. You're a guest here and you've violated the terms of service. So you can leave voluntarily, or I can have security escort you out. Your choice." The entire table was silent. Sarah Kim's mouth was open. Amanda Peters looked confused. Jessica's husband was staring at his plate. Jessica's voice got louder. She said, "This is insane. You can't just kick me out. I'm on the reunion committee. I organized this whole thing." I said, "You booked the venue. My events manager organized this whole thing. You got a nonprofit discount and a complimentary room setup. The bar was supposed to be cash only, individual transactions. But you've been charging drinks to the house account. That's theft of services." She stood up. She said, "You're that fat girl from high school. The one who never talked to anyone." The music seemed quieter suddenly. Or maybe it was just that more people were watching now. I said, "I was. Now I'm the person who owns this building, and for other properties in Portland. And you're the person who's leaving." Marcus stepped forward. He said, "Ma'am, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Easy way is you walk out with me right now. Hard way is I call Portland PD, and we discuss the unauthorized charges and trespassing. Your choice." Jessica grabbed her purse. Her hands were shaking. She said, "My husband is a lawyer. You're going to hear from him." I said, "Great. Have him call my attorney. David Rothstein, at Perkins Coie. He bills at $680 an hour. I'm sure they'll have a nice conversation." Actually, David bills at $650, but I rounded up for effect. Marcus held out his hand, gesturing toward the door. Jessica walked. She was trying to maintain dignity, but her face was blotchy and red. Her husband followed, mumbling something about this being a misunderstanding. Sarah and Amanda stayed at the table. They looked stunned. The ballroom was completely silent for about 5 seconds. Then someone started clapping. I don't know who. Then someone else joined in. Then more people. Within 10 seconds, half the room was applauding. I didn't stay to enjoy it. I walked to the bar. I ordered a Macallan 18. Neat. It's $32 a glass. I left a $20 bill as a tip. The bartender's name is Trevor. He's worked for me for 2 years. He poured the scotch and slid it across to me. He said, "That was the most satisfying thing I've seen all month." I said, "It's been 20 years coming." People started approaching me after that. People I barely remembered from high school. They wanted to talk. They wanted to tell me they remembered Jessica being mean. They wanted to know about my hotels, my life, my success. Mike Rodriguez came over. He said, "I had no idea you owned this place. That's incredible." I said, "I don't advertise it." Sarah Kim approached around 9:30. She looked uncomfortable. She said, "I'm sorry about what happened. Jessica's been drinking a lot lately. Her marriage is falling apart." I said, "That's not my problem. She was cruel in high school, and she's still cruel now. I'm just not tolerating it anymore." Sarah nodded. She said, "I get it. For what it's worth, I always felt bad about how we treated you back then." I said, "Then you should have said something." She didn't have a response to that. She walked away. Around 10:30, Christina found me. She said, "We have a situation. Jessica called her credit card company and disputed the charges. She's claiming they were fraudulent." I said, "Pull the security footage from the bar. Time-stamped. Get me screenshots of her ordering the drinks, signing the receipt, everything. Send it to David first thing Monday morning." Christina nodded. She said, "Already done." I pulled the footage as soon as Marcus walked her out. That's why I pay Christina $95,000 a year. The reunion ended around midnight. People filtered out slowly. Some went to the rooftop bar for after-party drinks. I didn't join them. I went back to my office, kicked off my Gucci loafers, and pulled up the security footage on my computer. There was Jessica at 8:47 p.m., ordering a bottle of Dom Perignon. $280. There she was at 9:15, ordering another bottle. There she was at 7:30, ordering the lobster tail from the restaurant menu. $68. A Caesar salad, she took 2 bites of $18. An appetizer platter, $1.45. Total tab, $847.32. All charged to the event account without authorization. I forwarded everything to David with a note. Dispute this charge. Pursue it fully. I want a paper trail. I went home around 1 a.m., made myself chamomile tea, sat on my balcony looking at the city. It was cold, mid-October, but I didn't mind. I thought about high school, about being invisible, about Jessica and her friends making jokes about my weight, my clothes, my silence, about picking up her lunch tray, because she told me to and I didn't know I could say no. I thought about the years after, the weight loss, the therapy, the community college classes, while I worked full-time at Starbucks, the transfer to Portland State, the computer science degree, the startup I built in a shared warehouse space with 3 other developers, the 80-hour weeks, the failed pitches, the finally successful pitch, the Series A funding, the growth, the acquisition, the money. Sunday morning I slept until 9 a.m. That's late for me. I made coffee, went for a run, came back and showered. I had emails waiting. One from David. He'd received my documentation. He said the dispute would be denied. Jessica's credit card would be charged the full amount plus a $200 dispute processing fee. One from Christina. She'd added Jessica Morgan to our band guest list. Her name was now flagged in our reservation system across all 5 properties. One from the reunion committee. It was from Amanda Peters. She said she was sorry about what happened. She said the committee wanted to cover any damages or problems. She said they hoped we could still have a good relationship with the hotel. I wrote back. I said there were no damages. The event went well. Everything was handled professionally. I wished them well. I didn't mention that I was considering donating the $800 room rental fee back to the Franklin High Scholarship Fund. I'd decide that later. Monday morning I was back in my office by 7 a.m. Coffee, emails, revenue reports. Normal routine. David called at 10:30. He said Jessica's credit card company had denied the dispute. The charge went through. She'd also been hit with the processing fee. She was now out $1,047.32. He said, she's threatening to sue. She says you humiliated her. I said, let her sue. Discovery will be fun. We have security footage, signed receipts, witness statements, and a clear violation of the event terms. She has nothing. David laughed. He said, she won't sue. Her husband knows better. He's a family law attorney, not a litigator. He's not going to take this to court. He was right. I never heard from Jessica's lawyer. What I did hear was gossip. Apparently the story spread through our high school network like wildfire. Facebook posts, group chats. Someone recorded part of the incident on their phone, and it got shared around. I became the hero of the story. The quiet girl who made good. The revenge success story. I didn't love that narrative. It made it sound like I built my career just to get back at high school bullies. That's not true. I built my career because I was smart and I worked hard, and I refused to let anyone make me feel small, ever again. But Jessica was a nice bonus. 2 weeks later, I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from Sarah Kim. She said she was sorry. She said she'd spent 20 years not thinking about how she treated people in high school. She said seeing me on Saturday made her realize she needed to do better. I didn't respond. I don't owe her forgiveness. 3 weeks later, I was having lunch with my financial advisor at a restaurant in the Pearl District. We were discussing moving some assets around, maybe buying another property in Seattle. I saw Jessica walk in. She was with a client, I assume. They were dressed professionally, carrying folders. She didn't see me. I watched her for a minute. She looked tired. Older, her smile looked forced. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction. Just nothing. That's when I knew I'd won. Not because I kicked her out of my hotel. Not because she had to pay $1,047.32, but because she no longer had power over me. She was just another person in a restaurant. Someone I used to know. Someone who didn't matter. I went back to my meeting. We decided on the Seattle property. A historic building in Capitol Hill that needed renovation. $4.2 million. I could make it profitable in 18 months. The reunion committee reached out in December. They wanted to book the 25-year reunion at the Meridian. 5 years from now. They asked if we'd consider the same nonprofit rate. I said yes. But I upgraded the package. Private rooftop access. Full open bar. Premium liquor. Past appetizers. A live band instead of a DJ. I told Christina to comp the whole thing. Room, food, drinks, everything. It would cost me about $15,000 all in. I can afford it. And I wanted people to remember that the girl they ignored in high school grew up to be the woman who gave them the best. reunion party they'd ever have. Jessica Morgan won't be invited. The committee made that decision themselves. Apparently she's persona non grata now. I framed the invoice from that night. $847.32. It hangs in my office next to my college diploma. My Forbes 30 Under 30 plaque from 2019, and a photo of me standing in front of the Meridian Portland on opening day. Some people never grow up. They graduate high school and they think the rules stay the same forever. That they can still snap their fingers and people will jump. That cruelty has no consequences. I learned something different. I learned that quiet doesn't mean weak. That invisible doesn't mean powerless. That the girl taking notes in the back row might be planning something bigger than you can imagine. I also learned about revenge. Real revenge isn't about humiliation. It's not about being cruel-backed. It's about building a life so successful that the people who hurt you become irrelevant. It's about standing in your own power and saying, no, you don't get to treat me that way. Not anymore. Not ever again. And it's about having the receipts. Always, always have the receipts. My therapist says I should let go of the past. That holding on to high school grudges isn't healthy. She's probably right. But she also said that standing up for myself, that setting boundaries, that refusing to accept disrespect, was one of the healthiest things I've ever done. So I keep the invoice on my wall. Not because I'm stuck in the past, but because it reminds me of who I am now. The woman who owns the room. The woman who doesn't back down. The woman who learned that the best revenge is building a life so good that the people who tried to diminish you can't even touch it. Jessica Morgan tried to make me clean her table. Instead, I showed her the door. And you know what? It felt amazing.